Welcome to Empire Building, the podcast where we talk about building big businesses and even bigger lives. I'm your co-host, Seychelle Van Poel.
And I'm Wendy Papazan. We've got a small crew today. It's just Seychelle and I. And we're going to just do a quick tactical episode on how to pre-qualify a lead. We're not exactly sure where this came from, but it's sort of ubiquitous in our industry. And I don't know, Seychelle, you thought maybe Claudia came up with it.
Yeah, I think I first heard it from our friend Claudia. She's originally from Colombia too, and so she has the most beautiful way of saying it too when she goes through it. So if you can hear this in this amazingly beautiful Colombian accent today and imagine us saying it with that, I feel like it would really enrich your episodes. So listen to it today thinking about Claudia's beautiful voice as we talk today.
Yes. And a lot of our listeners are in the real estate industry and some of them are not. So even though this is geared towards pre-qualifying a real estate lead, LT MAMA is our acronym. It's really apropos to anybody who's in sales because, of course, the most important thing is to pre-qualify your lead for many reasons, one of which, if you work with a pre-qualified lead, you're just going to waste a lot of time. So so we're just going to quickly run through how to pre-qualify a lead. And again, the acronym is LT MAMA.
Thank you, Wendy. You know, the first thing you want to think about, especially if you're talking about real estate, is location, which is the L. And when somebody's calling in, right, oftentimes they're calling in about a specific property or a specific area. And so ways in which you can ask that are, are you interested, they'll say, oh, I'm interested in 123 Main Street, or, oh, I'm interested in like mosquito service in a certain area, right? There's always a location tied to it. So what part of town are you interested in? Or are you looking to buy in that area? You can also say, well, what do you like about this area if they're looking to purchase? Or what's important to you about living in this area? Is there a commute time, a school that you're interested in? So you can build probing questions. When we do LT MAMA, the most important thing that you're trying to do is not ask yes, no questions. You're really trying to make sure you're asking open-ended questions to get the person on the other end of the phone or these days on the other end of a website chat or a text message. You're really trying to drive a conversation and not create a dead-end conversation. And so if you just said, oh, are you looking to buy in that area? Wendy would have the opportunity as the person I'm talking to be like, yes or no. Right. No would be usually the answer. They're looking to get out of the conversation as quick as possible. Instead, if I said, well, what makes you interested in that area? Right? Or which part of town are you looking in? Or what do you like about that area? Or can you tell me what's important about living in that area? All of a sudden, I'm opening up the conversation and I'm not giving an opportunity to shut it down with a yes or no answer. So when you're talking about any part of these LT MAMA, try to avoid the yes, no questions and go for open-ended questions to create conversation. So number one, location.
100%.
What's the next one, Wendy?
I love that. Yeah, so smart. Well, and the other thing you're trying to do is you're trying to build rapport with someone. And the best way that you can build rapport with someone is you ask them questions. The best example I can give of that is imagine, and we've all been there, imagine being at a party and you're sitting next to someone and that someone is just telling you all about themselves. They're just going on and droning on and on. And then you turn over to your left and you've got another person and they're asking you thoughtful questions about yourself. So what do you do? What do you do for fun? Tell me your story. What makes you tick? That person, maybe you don't even learn anything actually about them, but they're asking you thoughtful questions. You're going to be a lot more drawn to them than you would this other person who's just talking about themselves the whole time. And so you guys know that it's a basic tenet of sales, but it's just a good reminder. So these are just a lot of series of questions where you're trying to extract information from someone to pre-qualify them. So number one is location. That's the L in LT. The second one, the T in LT is time frame. This is really important because, again, you're trying to pre-qualify someone so that you don't waste your time. You don't waste their time either. Your time is your money in sales. And so some questions you're asking are, what's your timeline, right? When do you want to buy? When do you see yourself unpacking boxes in your new home?
I love that.
What's
Like
important?
you're not asking like when you're not saying, "Oh, are you looking to buy soon?" That's a yes no, right? Instead, I love that you said like what's your timeline, right? When do you see yourself unpacking boxes? That's great.
I love that. Well, and then what's important to you about that time frame?
Mhm.
Oh, well, my wife is pregnant and we need to be in our house before the baby comes, which is a very
That's
different answer
that's a very
than
real timeline.
September.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, right. What's your time frame? September. Great. What's important to you about that time frame? Right.
I love that. Mhm.
Other questions. How did you choose that time frame?
Mhm.
If your dream home went on the market tomorrow, would you be ready to make an offer? Right? Are they ready to go? Are they motivated?
Mhm.
Is there anything
Well,
keeping you from making an offer on a home tomorrow?
I love that because you're also figuring out if there's roadblocks or potential objections or what we talked about in previous episodes, smoke screens that you're going to need to overcome during the process. And so I love those last two questions because you're uncovering potential things that you might need to help them overcome in order to make them into a more ready, willing, and able client, which is awesome. And some
Love
of those
that.
things lead into motivation, right? If somebody does not have the motivation to make a purchase or a sale, there's honestly very little that you can do to make it happen without them being motivated to do so. And helping them uncover that motivation really helps them to prioritize the relationship with you and to prioritize why they need to make those decisions. So you really want to understand their why and uncover if there's a pain point that would either keep them from making a decision or a pain point that your sale would solve. So some of those questions you can ask are, well, what's prompting your home search or what's prompting your home sale? What's causing you to look at homes in this area? Again, I'm not saying, well, are you looking at homes in this area? We're asking what's causing you to look at homes. What's kept you from moving up to this point? That's a great one. You then find out if there's a barrier to entry. It
I've
could
been
be
in
a credit
jail.
issue. Yeah, literally a barrier. Physical bars.
Yeah.
That's a very real barrier. Or I have bad
Good to
credit,
know.
or I'm self-employed, or I'm a doctor getting my practice up and running, or we have family that lives with us and they need to move out before we can move, right? Like you've got all those things. Another great one is, how long have you been in the market to buy a home, right? Another one that is great too, off of any of these, which is a follow-up question, is what's important to you about that? I think that's a great one because it gets into the ultimate motivation, which is where they're coming from and why they want to make that decision.
I love that. Well, and like Keller Williams teaches us to go three deep with our conversations. And the best place to do that is really on these motivation questions. So let me give you an example. So, for instance, if someone said to me, I want to sell my house, I would say, fantastic. What's prompting your move? Well, I want to move to Colorado. Oh, that's great. What is it about Colorado that makes you want to go there? Well, my parents are there. Oh, fantastic. What is it about your parents in Colorado that's making you want to move so quickly? Well, my dad is not well, and my dad isn't probably going to be with me very long. He just got a diagnosis of whatever. And I may only have about another year or two with him. So I really want to move there and make the most of it. So you guys can see going three deep on that, the motivation, I want to move to Colorado is very different than I want to move to Colorado so that I can be closer to my parents, especially my dad, who may not have a lot longer to live. And motivation is something that you can use throughout the any transaction that you're in to help your client kind of get back to reality. Sometimes we get stuck in our head, but really we need to go back to our heart because everybody makes decisions based on their emotions. And so it might be that you have a seller who's like, oh, the buyer isn't doing what I want them to do. I want to back out. And at that point, you could just bring up their motivation again. Listen, when we sat down together a month ago, you told me that you wanted to sell your house so that you could get closer to your parents because your dad doesn't have a lot longer to live, and I want to make that happen for you. And, that may sound a little manipulative, but whenever I've done that in the past, that client has turned to me and literally thanked me for reminding them about why they're doing what they're doing. Because sometimes we just, like I said, we get kind of caught up in the details and in our head about it.
Well, and I love this. And what I'm hearing, Wendy, is not you using it to manipulate a decision. I think part of our job as a consultant and not a salesperson is to remind people of why we're making decisions and to help them prioritize what is most important. That is why we get paid well. That is why we get paid as business people. And it is not that we're here to manipulate, make decisions for people, or shove them into things they don't want to do. What I heard was you were using care and candor and honesty to help them keep their priorities at the forefront of their mind, because sometimes in a stressful situation, we get mired in the weeds. We all do it. And so as professionals and as consultants, when you understand someone's motivation, you can help them keep that at the forefront, which then helps them move the needle in the direction that they need to.
Yes, I love that. So even though it's number 3, it's the LT mama, the first M in mama, it's really the most important one. Honestly, you want to find out why somebody's motivated, because there are people out there who they check every other box, but if the motivation isn't there, they're just not going to do anything about it. I mean, that's just the reality of that. So, yep. So our A is agent, which is you're trying to discover whether or not they have been working with another agent, because again, your time is your money and you don't want to go down a road with someone when they actually are working with someone else. So a great way to ask that question is, have you visited many homes yet?
And
Wendy, actually, I have seen a few. Yeah.
For the record, Wendy, everyone is trained to on a phone call, in walking into an open house, walking into anything. Everyone mentally is prepared. If you say, "Oh, are you working with an agent?" Everyone is prepared, whether they are or not, as to say, "Yes, I am." And so if you're asking this question in a different way, you can actually uncover if they truly do have representation, which of course we want to respect and honor, or if they're just saying that to make you stop the conversation.
Yeah, that's so smart. It's kind of like walking, when you're in a store and your mission is to buy a pair of black pants, and you walk into the store and the retail gal walks up to you and says, "Can I help you with anything?" You're just like, "No,
I'm good. No."
But yeah, so that's a great way to say that. The other thing you can say is, how many homes have you seen in person so far? Just another way of saying that first question. Are you doing your own research, or is somebody helping you?
I love that.
Oh, yeah, somebody is helping me. Oh, okay, fantastic. Yeah, it's my uncle who's a lawyer. Oh, okay, great. You can just approach it very bluntly. Are you working with an agent already? Nothing wrong with that. I actually talked to somebody this morning who, she's in a little bit of a quandary because her fiance has a relationship with a realtor. And so she's trying to navigate her about-to-be husband and his like for this person, and her wanting to do something different and have somebody stronger with them. And so she's trying to figure out whether or not they have representation. And so anyway.
That's an exciting first marital business decision.
Yeah, I know. I said, I feel for you. I said, I get the fence that you're walking right now. So
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I'm glad you can, and then you can respond, "I'm glad you've connected with a professional already. What's their name? I wonder if I know them. Have you signed an exclusive buyer representation agreement with John?" If the answer is no, then you can go ahead and set the appointment.
Yeah, I love that. And, it is, like Wendy said early on in this one, it is about honoring a relationship if they already have a loyalty and an agreement with someone. We are not in the business of trying to snake deals. There's enough business out there for everybody. And oftentimes that's a potential objection or a smokescreen that someone throws up and saying they have representation because they're trying to shut down the conversation. So if you can get into rapport and relationship, there's an opportunity there to build a client, and hopefully a client for life for you. The next one is smart. After we figure out if they have thank you. After representation, the next one we want to figure out is, how are you physically going to pay for this property? How are you actually going to buy this piece of real estate? Or if you're not in real estate, right, how are they going to buy your product? And so a couple questions you could ask before is like, well, have you purchased or sold real estate before? And how long ago was it, if they did? Because you're trying to understand, like, have they not purchased or sold real estate in 30 years? Is this their first property? Do they have a home to sell, right? Would this be a cash purchase for you, or will you need a mortgage or financing? I love that one because it gets straight to the heart of, it's honestly my favorite one.
I don't know about you. Is that the one you use mostly?
I do use that one the most. Yeah. You know, are you paying cash, or are you going to need financing or a loan for this? It doesn't give them any option to get out of the question. It's an either or. There's usually two ways, you know, unless we had a friend the other day that was talking about like a bag of, you know, a duffel bag of cash they were trying to figure out how to source. But usually it's going to be either cash or a mortgage.
Wait,
so it's a really easy way.
Had a friend? Did you just say you had a friend who was trying to source a duffel bag of cash?
You and I both do. It was in one of our real estate groups this last week. They have a buyer that's trying to purchase a property, but she can't deposit the money in a bank. I'm sure it's from one of these states that you make money with legal certain ways, but the money can't be FDIC insured, so it can't be put into a bank account. So she has literally a duffel bag of cash that she's trying to figure out how to show as proof of funds. So we were talking about, like, could you roll in it and like show, like, or like throw it in the air and like the weight of it shows the dollar amount? Like, what are the different ways you could show proof of funds?
Well, I had that happen to me too, where I asked for a proof of funds and they texted over a picture of some cash. Yeah.
I'm like, thank you. Please don't
it's ridiculous.
Send that picture to anyone else, like, because they're going to come and steal it from you. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, you know, are you paying cash or are you getting a loan? That by far, if you take no other question from the like financing period, that's like the best one. Do you have a lender you've worked with in the past that you really love? Is a great one. If no, right, it's awesome. We've got some fantastic people that we work with that have a great reputation and a great track record. We'd love to send them to you. What's the best way to get them over to you? Text or email. Again, you're giving them either or. You don't have a way out of it. And then from there, you can follow up, and that's a great connection. If you have a great relationship with somebody in the mortgage industry, you can connect them really well and get that going. And they can help backsell you as far as how awesome you are.
Love that. So we get to the last A in Mama here. Remember, we're LT Mama. And honestly, guys, this is something that you should write down on a little sticky note and put it on your computer if you're making a lot of these calls, if you're making a lot of conversion calls, so that you remember location, check, timing, check. And sometimes people swap the T for the P, or they add a P, which is price. So you also want to find out what people's price point is. But the last one, and arguably the most important one, and probably the one that people miss the most, actually, is appointment, right? So you want to be able to switch from asking questions to nailing them down to when you're going to talk to them next. And every single appointment that you have with a client should end with an appointment to see them again. That's how you move the transaction forward. And I think sometimes we just forget that. We leave it up to them, or we think we'll follow up later, but that's your job after every appointment, is to follow up for the next appointment. And so questions to ask for the appointment are, basically you got to have some kind of transition. Okay, great. Well, it sounds like you could use the help of a good buyer's agent or seller's agent. I'd like to be that person for you, and so we should meet. Are weekdays or weekends typically better for you? So again, we're not giving them a yes or no, right? We're not saying, is tomorrow at 5 good for you? No, you're saying, are weekends or weekdays better for you? You're getting them to say yes. Okay, fantastic. Sounds like weekends are better for you. What mornings or evenings? Which ones typically work better for your family? Typically the morning. Great. So would 10 a.m. on Saturday work for you? Because I'm looking at my calendar and that's wide open.
I love that.
Great. Fantastic. And then you also want to make sure you're asking, is there anyone else who's going to be purchasing the home with you? Because you want all the
decision makers there. Yeah.
Decision makers. Yeah. You want all the decision makers to be there. So it sounds like 10 a.m. is good for you. Is it going to be good for your partner? And if it's good for them, are we good to go for 10 a.m. on Saturday? Great. Fantastic. I'm going to follow up with a calendar invite and some information about us, and we'll see you at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning.
That's awesome. The other one that I love you have such a great comment, Wendy, of every time you end the conversation, there should be a plan for how you're going to connect with them next. One of the phrases we use all the time that I love is like, well, here's what's going to happen next, or here's what I recommend we do next. And just go ahead and I work to end every phone conversation, every email and text if there's a client, and how we move that needle forward. And so they always know there's a next step. Or the next game plan's already set out for them, so they don't have to think or be left wandering. And that's been just something we've used for a really long time that's really helpful because it leaves the ball always in the next court as far as the next action step to move it forwards.
Great. Love that. I love that. Yeah. Well, today's been a great episode, guys. Kind of a shorty episode, but just really good reminder on how to pre-qualify a lead. So if you can use Claudia, her acronym, which is LT Mama, and think about, as you're talking and pre-qualifying your leads, think about location, think about time frame, think about motivation. You want to go 3 deep there. Do they have an agent? Are they pre-qualified? If not, you need to make that happen for them and then set the appointment. And honestly, guys, if you can do this before ever meeting with a client, you will save yourself so much time, money, and hassle. Yes, which will give you more time to go out and not only build a big business, but an even bigger life. So thank you guys for joining us today. Bye.
Love it. Bye.